I recently turned 40, and reflecting on what I've learned through my last 20 years in the workforce, I concluded that my understanding of the nature of money has evolved in ways I'd never have imagined in my 20s. Looking back, I wish I had known what I know today about money. There's little doubt in my mind that would have given me a most valuable head start. In this video, I share 5 of the biggest money lessons I've learned through observation and experience. I'll also share some mistakes I've made along the way. Pay close attention because this video is full of lessons that might save you years of financial setbacks. This isn't a video that you would have learned in school and is not full of old wives' tales either. Stick around to the last of my 5 lessons because it provides insight into achieving financial freedom by saving as little as $500 a month. And with that, let's get started. Lesson number 5. Money is a flowing river. Position yourself to tap into it. Like many people, I grew up thinking that what provided financial freedom was a high-paying job or just any form of entrepreneurship. With that understanding, I initially focused on working hard and looking forward to having the capital to start a business, just any business. But today, I understand working hard or getting capital to start a business isn't enough. Many people work hard every day, but on the wrong endeavors, and the results can be seen in the miserable lives they live. And many others start businesses that close to 50% don't live to see their 5th anniversary. The key to making money is having the understanding that it operates more like a river. It flows. And the secret of tapping it to flow into your bank account is strategically positioning yourself along the different channels through which it flows. Here's what I mean by positioning. Ask yourself, where are emerging opportunities? If you happen to be at the right place at the right time, then you don't even need to work harder than the average person. For instance, industries like artificial intelligence and Bitcoin treasury companies today are exhibiting great potential for significant growth in the next few years. Meaning, if you identify a strategic position in those industries and put yourself there, you are likely to achieve some financial success. But how can you do that? Think about your skills, experience, and interests and see where they could best intersect with any of these emerging industries. One thing to always remember is that money will always flow to where there's value and innovation. If you can align yourself with those things, you'll not only grow your income, but position yourself for long-term success, whether it's as an employee, entrepreneur, or investor. Lesson number 4. Money doesn't have to be created by government. I'm from the generation that was made to believe that money was money because the government said so. That it had to have the blessings and the signature of the central bank and then be issued through the established financial system. That might not be a misunderstanding that someone in their 20s today has to deal with, at least not to the extent we did. However, that's not to mean that they're not bought on the idea that if something doesn't have the government seal, then it's not worth being taken seriously. For many of us, our idea of money was challenged by the emergence of Bitcoin in 2009. But did you know that through much of human history, what has been used as money wasn't decreed by the government? We're talking animal feathers, cowrie shells, tea, tobacco, and, of course, precious metals. Gold and silver, for example, have been used as money across many civilizations, including very ancient ones, not because any government said so, but because they have properties that have made them ideal to be used as a medium of exchange, store of value, and units of account. Today, we're in a digital era, and new forms of money are being created. Bitcoin is the foremost of the new assets. Bitcoin is independent of government and any other centralized institution, and its value comes from the robustness and decentralization of the algorithm that safeguards its scarcity and utility. Understanding that the most enduring forms of money are those that have acquired utility organically can empower you to explore feasible investment options. I'd like to take a moment to thank the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Caleb & Brown, the world-class Bitcoin brokerage who can help you get into the game where you can buy Bitcoin in a safe way. Caleb & Brown brings you personalized 24/7 brokerage services, guiding you through every step of your Bitcoin journey. Whether you're buying for the first time or expanding your portfolio, Caleb & Brown's dedicated brokerage team offer you unparalleled support and expertise. Enjoy peace of mind with their secure cold storage and unlimited access to your personalized broker. Click the link in the description to get started today. Lesson number 3. Cash is not always king. Have you heard of the saying, cash is king? It comes from the pervasive belief that cash is the safest form of asset and should be preferred above any other. Our parents and grandparents would sometimes go so far as to keep cash in jars, under mattresses, or even buried in the backyard with the belief that it would always retain its value. But here's the hard truth. Cash, especially fiat currency, loses its value over time due to inflation. According to data from the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, today you need over $200 to buy what $100 could buy you in 1993. That means the US dollar has lost nearly 50% of its purchasing power in 3 decades. Even if you securely keep your cash in the deepest hole dug in your backyard, its value is still going to be stolen by people who don't even know where you kept it. This brings us to the importance of understanding better alternatives to cash. Bitcoin, in particular, is turning out to be the actual king. That is because it's scarce, as it has a fixed supply capped at 21 million coins, which makes it inherently deflationary. It's also a form of money that is truly non-custodial, meaning you can have full control over it and no one can arbitrarily take it or its purchasing power away from you. Because of this nature of Bitcoin, many view it as a more secure store of value, especially in the long term. Think of it this way: cash might be a great tool for commerce, but it's not a safe place for wealth in the long term. On the other hand, Bitcoin gives you the ability to store your wealth in ways that aren't at the mercy of inflation or third-party interventions. Lesson number 2. The inflation tax is real. You've probably wondered, why can't the government simply print the money it needs to spend instead of taxing us? It actually does, and that is the worst form of taxation. When the government prints money, it creates inflation. It's important to understand that inflation isn't just some vague economic concept. It's essentially a tax on your wealth. That is because when the supply of money in an economy is increased, the purchasing power of the money you're holding is eroded. That lost purchasing power goes to the entity holding the just printed cash, which often happens to be the government. Unfortunately, unlike other taxes, the inflation tax is invisible in our bank accounts. Even after being deducted, the figures remain the same. This makes it difficult to know exactly how much you're losing to the government. It's also a form of tax that happens without explicit approval. The good news is that there are ways to counter this. For example, by putting your money into Bitcoin, you have a better chance of maintaining or growing your purchasing power over time. It's important to understand the inflation tax and make moves to protect your wealth. And finally, lesson number 1, you can accumulate $500,000 worth of wealth in 4 years by saving as little as $500 a month. One of the most surprising lessons I've learned is how powerful consistent savings can be, especially when coupled with a simple but efficient investment strategy. Contrary to what you might think, you don't need to have a big income to grow your wealth exponentially. In fact, saving just $125 a week can make a significant impact on your life in less than 5 years. And you might not need to increase your current income to get that amount. All you might need to do is make a few adjustments to your budget. For example, you may choose to forego your date night at a fancy restaurant each week. If you save $125 a week, in a year you'll have saved $6,500. But that's just the beginning. Invest those savings in an asset with great returns. That's where the magic happens. And few assets beat Bitcoin when it comes to returns on investment. According to a report published by Van Eck, a renowned asset management firm, Bitcoin has been the best performing asset class of the last decade. It has a 4-year compound annual growth rate of over 26%. You could use a tool that leverages up-to-date and nuanced market data, as well as dollar-cost averaging, to get estimates of what you could achieve with consistent savings and accumulating Satoshis. One great tool is the Bitcoin Dollar Cost Averaging webpage. According to the Bitcoin DCA model, if you had started saving $125 each week beginning in January 2021, your total savings would reach $25,000. Now, if every penny of the $125 you saved every week went to buying Bitcoin, you would have ended up with a stash of 0.72 Bitcoin worth about $50,000. That's right, you would have doubled your money. Very few other investment options can match that. And if you maintain that habit for a decade, then we're looking at amounts enough for you to retire permanently on. Meanwhile, you do not need to put in further effort after buying the Bitcoin. All you would have had to do is sit back, relax, and never hit the sell button. Indeed, the entire strategy is simply consistency and patience. As I reflect on these lessons, I realize they're not just about money. They're about mindset and how you approach life. Money flows where there's value. It doesn't have to come from traditional sources, And by understanding the effects of inflation, you can protect yourself from its impacts. And finally, with discipline and small savings, wealth building can be within your reach. Let me know in the comments which of these 5 lessons resonated most with you. Click the link on screen to watch the next video from Bitcoin Basics.